Welcome back to The Shelf Speaks, where we allow the amazing Black authors who are on our bookshelves to speak to us through their words. This week, I am very excited. I just picked up this book from 44th and 3rd, or 44th and 5th. I'll put the bookstore, but it is a bookshop on Spelman and Morehouse's campus. I attended Audrey's amazing word salon, which she has every Sunday, where she brings Black women together in conversation around Black women writers at work, which is this amazing book of interviews edited by Claudia Tate, where she's in conversation with women like Maya Angelou, Toni Cade Bambara, Audre Lorde, Toni Morrison, etc. So in that partnership, I went into the bookshop that is attached to the space to just nosy around. And I came across this book, and I love an anthology. So this book, it was edited by Joanne M. Braxton and Andre Nicola McLaughlin, who are the two editors. The foreword is by Audre Lorde, and it is called Wild Women in the Whirlwind, Afro-American Culture and the Contemporary Literary Renaissance. And some of the contributors to this are Angela Davis, June Jordan, Henry Louis Gates, Billie Jean Young. It says this book is the first comprehensive collection of critical and theoretical essays to explore the literary and multicultural traditions of Black American women in many genres over a broad span of time. The essays explore cultural and literary experience in a wide context and offered a variety of critical theoretical constructs in which to view that experience. The editors have written excellent introductions, providing both historical and comparative discussions of the contemporary literary renaissance. And it also includes valuable biographies of selected English language works by Black women in the Americas from 1970s to the present. So, as I was thumbing through this book, I came across a selection which was done by Zala Chandler. Zala Chandler can be best described as a Black feminist scholar, documentarian, and historian. She is often in conversation with a lot of our Black women writers who were really popular of that time period, and she's almost archiving and saving and putting critique to the time period and what they're providing to the space. There's not a lot of like public facing material about her, but you see her often come up in conversation with other women in the space, the way that she comes up in this piece as well. And this section is called Voices Beyond the Veil, an interview with Toni Cade Bambara and Sonia Sanchez. And so I, as y'all know, plan to get into Toni Cade Bambara's book, Salt Eaters, this year, which really like highlights some of the hoodoo traditions, really gets into what is beyond the veil. And I would probably say would be considered like Southern Black Gothic writing. And so in this, what really struck me was this conversation around the knowing and what we know. So in this passage, this is Toni Cade Bambara, who was in conversation with Zala Chandler, and they are both Toni and Sonia in this are speaking of connections with the world beyond the veil, connections between generations, spiritual connections, and connections with those people who have come before us and left a legacy. So we're going to start with Toni Cade Bambara. And so she says, and grandmother would look at me and ask, what are we pretending not to know today? The premise being that colored people on planet Earth really know everything there is to know. And if one is not coming to grips with that knowledge, it must mean that they are either scared or pretending to be stupid. One of the ways we pretend, and it is easy to do so because we are rewarded with pretense, is to act as though we live in a logical, rational 2 + 2 = 4 setup. Yet reality is also psychic. That is to say, in addition to the other things, for example, the political, we live in a system that is guided by a spiritual order. So to skip down a bit, she says, and they proceeded to ban the drum, ban smoke signals, and ban what they call fetish religions. In its place, they would impose a system of logic on the American psyche, American sensibility, the American political reality, and indeed American life and literature that was all aimed, all the while, at a total control of society by a few. She goes on to say that English is a wonderful mercantile language. You can get a lot of trade done with English, but you will find it very difficult to validate the psyche and spiritual existence of your life. So consequently, we pretend. We pretend that we're not clairvoyant and we buy glasses instead. We pretend we are not telepathic and we lean in on the telephone and the post office system instead, etc. As a result, those of us who are adept, who have dormant powers, have to expend a great deal of time and energy denying it and suppressing it to the detriment of the individual and to the entire community. And that resonated with me a lot because so many times we, as Black people, as Black women, are forced to pretend that we don't know something deep down in our soul and our bones. And while we might not be able to really explain what we know, we might not be able to prove it in a more logical sense of proving, but we know it to be true. And more often than not, it proves for itself to be true. And that was just, for me, the remembering that that is not uncommon for us. It is extremely common. And that it also gave a sense of validity for that feeling that sometimes we often feel. And it's good to feel validated. It's good to, I think, especially when you are being gaslit in that way and being made to feel stripped down and othered, and that could not possibly be true. That is not how that could possibly operate. It's good to remember that there are women, and they both in their time in this earth, but also ancestrally, also from an ancestral realm, have left us so much. They created legacy for us. And we really have to be willing to walk into that path and hear their voices and hear what they have to say. And so a lot of this work for me is around hearing what they have to say. And I want to dig in a little bit more into Zala Chandler because I'm not familiar with them. So let's dig in a little bit. In this same interview, there's a section where Sonia Sanchez is saying that at the same time I offer this political understanding, I must offer a sincere belief that in addition to the necessity for us to be political, we must also be spiritual. We must have spiritual sources which we rely upon. We must call upon our residual memories. We must call upon our ancestors, and they will propel us through all the crap we currently face on a daily basis. Our spirituality will keep us from becoming cynical and becoming bitter, from becoming harsh. Our politics, combined with our spirituality, will keep us from becoming like the people that we are trying to replace. Yes, we must hear the voices and have the dreams of those who came before us, and we must keep them with us in a very real sense. They will keep us centered. This will help us maintain our understanding of the job we must do. And if we do the job we must do, then we will win. And that's just powerful. It's like using your ancestors. So if you take these kind of two women's interviews, you have Toni Cade Bambara really saying that we already know things intrinsically, which means that even when we all become ancestors and hopefully venerated ancestors, we will have the knowing that we had currently and present, and also the knowing that we leave behind. And then to couple that, Sonia Sanchez is saying that we must operate and be in community with spirit to know. And by tapping into that knowing, we will be able to have the strength that we need to be able to move forward. And I just think that's beautiful.